An award-winning documentary directed by a Rockford Marine veteran heads to Hard Rock Casino Rockford later this month. Miriam Niesmeyer talks with the veteran behind the film about turning some of their hardest moments into inspiration, gaining national attention.
Daniel, for nearly 3 years, cameras followed injured veterans through some of the most personal moments of their lives. Now, Rockford Marine veteran and founder of Oscar Mike Foundation, Noah Career says the stories of struggle, resilience, and wheelchair rugby are ready for the big screen.
On the surface, it could be called a sports documentary, but it's far from.
Director Noah Career says he set out to make a film centered around wheelchair rugby. It evolved into something much more personal.
This film covers all sorts of things, everything from disability to sport to teamwork to parenthood to fertility.
Some Function follows the Oscar Mike Militia, the nation's only all-veteran wheelchair rugby team, while also documenting the realities many injured veterans face long after returning home.
The world needed to hear their stories, or these stories that are told in the film, and I also think I say life is a team sport, and I think the more we can do together, because you don't do anything alone, hopefully this film inspires people to reach out and to work with other people to accomplish whatever's in front of them.
Veteran and Paralympian Mason Simons, featured on the big screen, says the sport gives him purpose after breaking his neck in 2009.
It's changed my life, it's pulled me out of a lot of negative things, and given me a spotlight to kind of contribute and give back to society.
Simons says sharing some of the hardest parts on camera wasn't easy, but hopes the documentary helps others struggling.
Whether that's talking about previous addiction or fighting weight loss or being cut from the team, someone can find something in there that can help them and benefit them in their life's path.
Some Function already gained national recognition after winning awards around the U.S.
Everybody was just really vulnerable and honest, and I think that's what's going to make it so meaningful for our friends and family to see it here locally in Rockford.
The documentary premieres at the Hard Rock Casino Rockford May 30th at 7 in the evening. Tickets can be purchased through Ticketmaster.
Career says the Oscar Mike Foundation has already served more than 1,500 injured veterans, and plans are underway for a 100-acre adaptive sports and training center in the Rockford area.